Okay, so here we are in processing, and we're continuing from the last video where we were drawing the four primitives: point, lines, ellipses, and arcs. And in this video, we're going to be drawing the other four primitives: rects, quads, triangles, and polygons. Now to speed things along, I've already done a little bit of setup that I showed you how to do in the last video. I've added a comment describing what the sketch is. I've done the setup of both the canvas and the background color, and then I've set up the areas that we're going to put the code for the rectangle, quadrangle, triangle, and polygon. So everything looks good here. I'm just going to hit run to take a look at the canvas and see what we have to work with. Okay, so here's our canvas. Just like the last video, it's 600 pixels wide by 400 pixels high, and I've decided to stay with that nice light yellow color. So let's draw a rectangle. The rectangle is drawn using the rect function, R-E-C-T, and then it takes the arguments. The first two arguments are the x and y coordinates of the origin, and the next two are the width and height of the rectangle. So I'm going to go 200 over from the left, 200 down, and then simply draw a 50 by 50 rectangle. So this will come out to be a square. Let's take a look how that looks. Okay, so this is a little plain here. It's simply the stroke is set as 1 pixel and black, and the fill is set as white. Now these are the defaults. I say they're set like that because the defaults are placed into the code without you seeing them there. You have to override those by typing in the code yourself. So I'm going to call upon the stroke to change the stroke color, the stroke weight to change the stroke weight, and then also the fill to change the interior color. So first is the stroke function. Open up the argument, and this takes a color. So from the tools menu, I'm going to use the handy color selector. Okay, let's move these windows around a little bit. All right, so I'm going to use a blue color. Use a nice medium blue here. Once you've chosen your color, copy your hex code and paste it into your argument field. Close your argument, close it with a semicolon, and let's see what this color looks like. Excellent, excellent. And now I'm going to fill it with the same color. I'm going to type the fill function, open my arguments, paste the color, close the argument, semicolon, and let's take a look at how this looks. Beautiful. Great. Now, before we go into the quadrangle, I want to let you know that you can draw multiple objects very quickly by simply copying and pasting your code and changing the location of the objects. What do I mean? Well, let's take this one rectangle and turn it into 4 rectangles. I'm going to copy just this rect line because I want the rectangles to inherit the same stroke and fill settings here. And I'm going to paste 3 more right here. And I'm going to put them all in a row. So I'm going to change just the x value here. So the first one's going to be at 100, 200, 300, and 400. Let's take a look at this. Excellent. So placing multiple shapes in your canvas is very easy. Simply set up your parameters, copy and paste, and then change your arguments so that the address or the location value for each function is different. Next, let's take a look at the quadrangle. So the quadrangle is like a rectangle, except it's not strict in that the angles have to be 90 degrees. A quadrangle is defined with a bit more arguments though. So to make a quadrangle, you type quad, open your arguments. So this is going to take an x and y coordinate for each corner. Okay, so I have all 8 parameters of my quadrangle, and I'm going to stop and run the sketch to take a look at what it looks like. Excellent. So there's our quadrangle there. At this point, I would like the quadrangle to have a different stroke and a different fill color. So I'm going to set both of those up here. I want this one to be red. I'm going to choose this nice muted red here. Copy all of this, including the pound sign, and paste that into the argument area of my stroke. Close with parentheses, close with the semicolon. And I'm also going to do the same for the fill. Fill, open the argument, paste the color, close the argument, end the function. And let's see what that looks like. Excellent, excellent. Very, very good. Okay, next is the triangle. Similar to the quadrangle, but it only has 3 sides, so it only takes 6 arguments. I have those arguments already in my clipboard, and I'm going to paste them here. Close this off, and let's take a look at our triangle. Okay, looks great. Now I want to make a few modifications. So before the triangle code, I'm going to add code for stroke to change the outline color, and also stroke weight to change the thickness of the outline. So first with stroke, I'm going to select my color. I'm going to select a very bright yellow. Okay, that looks good. Copy that hex code, paste it here, close your parentheses, close your argument. And for stroke weight, I'm going to define it as 3 pixels. Close your argument, add your semicolon, and now let's take a look. Ah, very interesting. So it has this nice bright yellow. It's subtle, but it helps to make this object pop. Now we'll take a short break to see how things are going with a brief quiz. All right, our last object, and an object that wasn't covered in the theory of this week, is the polygon. I didn't cover this object because the polygon can take on any shape or any form, and it has a little bit of extra programming involved in it. So now that you're getting a little bit more comfortable with shapes and modifying them, it's time to introduce the polygon. So the polygon code is spread out over several lines of code. And how it works is that you have your first line of code, which is a function called begin shape. And this function takes no arguments and is closed off with a semicolon immediately. Now, you'll want to press return on your keyboard to begin a new line of code, and this is going to be your first vertex. Now, a polygon can be as little as 3 vertexes and as many other vertexes outside of that you would like. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a 5-sided polygon, a shape that we haven't seen yet. So to do that, I'm going to define 5 different vertex. I'm going to skip ahead and paste all 5 vertex below. Once you've finished indicating the location of all the vertexes of your polygon, you're going to need one last line of code, and that is the end shape. Once again, just like begin shape, this takes no arguments, and you close it with the semicolon. Let's take a look and see what this polygon is going to look like. Ah, there it is. Very, very interesting. And you'll see that it's actually sitting on top of our blue boxes. Now, I did that to show you that the priority of what objects are seen on top of other objects has to do with the order of your programming. If I were to, for instance, grab all of this polygon code, cut it from here, and paste it before my rectangle code, let's see what happens. Well, you'll see for one thing that the fill and stroke have now been broken because they were previously defined by the triangle. But also you'll notice that the polygon appears behind the rectangle. So I'm going to undo that change. I liked it where it was. Okay, this looks good. Let's take a look. Excellent. All right, so this has been an overview of drawing rects, quadrangles, triangles, and polygons. I've shown you again how to set up, how to comment your code, and how to modify all these different shapes, their colors, their outlines, and then the stroke weight of those. Now, when you're all done with your sketch, you'll always want to save. And to save in processing, it's very simple. Simply select File, Save, or Save As, and choose a location. Given your file name, processing will place your file inside of a folder of the same name. Now, the last thing I'd like to tell you is that for your assignment this week, you'll be pasting your code. To do so, simply hit Edit, select All, Edit, Copy, and this is what you'll paste into your assignment field. I'll see you next week.